Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a good video for you today. This is really going to be an educational video on how young people get caught up in the system and how they go to prison for stuff maybe they shouldn't get the time they do. Before I get started, please check me on YouTube member programs, Patreon member programs, Discord, our merch, the book, Gangster Redemption. I wore this shirt for a reason. I don't believe in bad people, I believe in bad choices, and here's what I mean. This video is going to be, about what I saw in prison with young people coming to prison. The reason I actually started my reality check program was because I saw so many young people coming to prison, and I'm hearing their sentences and I'm doing their law work, and it really got disturbing because you'd see young kids getting 20, 30 years in prison for crap that I know they didn't do as far as the weight of what they did. And that's what we're gonna get into Ghost Dope and how it works. Let me give you kind of a scenario how it works, and then we're gonna get into how they can change the laws or change things or how we can help somebody. You take a young person, let's say comes from whatever neighborhood, a disadvantaged neighborhood, could be any neighborhood, and he ends up hooking up with the wrong people and he sells, let's just call it cocaine, because cocaine is easy to do. So he's selling 8 balls, grams, little shit, maybe a half an ounce of coke and that kind of shit. Obviously it's wrong, he shouldn't do it and everything else. But here's what happens. Let's just say he gets caught. The cops come to him and he gets caught. Somehow he gets caught, snitches, that's how it all happens, he gets caught. All of a sudden the cops, or even if it gets to the Fed level, the Feds will come to him and say, hey listen, who you getting your dope from? Who you getting the coke from? And he says, I'm not gonna tell you. Oh, you're gonna tell us? He goes, no, I'm not gonna tell you. They then get so mad at this young guy that they get somebody, the guy who snitched on him to begin with, they'll get that guy to say that he bought an ounce a week for 2 years. He didn't. It's called Ghost Dope. This guy says, I never did that. I didn't do that. That's lies, everything else. Now, the feds don't care. They're now gonna charge this kid with an ounce a week, which is 52 ounces in a year, 100 ounces in 2 years, and now the sentencing goes up. By the federal guidelines, if you have 500 grams, just grams, 500 grams or more, it's 5 to 20, automatic. If you see someone getting a year, you know what they did. They got what they call a 5K1, or afterwards they'll get a Rule 35. And you used to see young people come in, we know what they did. I'm not gonna get into the rat thing. I'm not gonna talk about it because I don't care about that. I'm here to talk to young people how they do, the federal government does, Ghost Dope. And if you are in some kind of being, or friends or whatever it is, you think it's small, before you know it, it's big. Because the guy's trying to be a stand-up guy. He doesn't tell, he does what he's gonna do. And they say, okay, now we're gonna get this guy and this guy to come and say they bought all of this stuff from you with no evidence at all. But you're going to trial, you don't believe it. They get these guys on the stand. These guys lie, dead lie. The feds know it, the prosecutors know it. This was pissing me off. And all of a sudden, this kid has the weight of a very big sentence. Did he deserve to go to prison? Maybe for a little time. We talked about there's approximately 3,000 people in the last, by the Innocent Project, it's approximately 3,000 people in the system who are innocent. Did you hear what I just said? Innocent. DNA or whatever, faulty confessions, everything else. 3,000 people. Think it doesn't sound like a lot when you got 2.3 million people incarcerated, but that's the whole place. But the feds have about 200 something thousand. You're talking about 3,000 people are innocent. The innocent is one thing. Now you take kids who are what I call it mis-sentenced. I used to see this all the time when I was doing the law work in prison. Me and my friend, and you could look at his video here, is Paul Tellini, and we used to do law work and get young people, getting in here and they're freaking, what do I do? This is exactly what we read their case, we understand it, we read transcripts, we know what time it is. You know the character, you get the guy, you live with this guy, there ain't a question in my mind that this guy couldn't have done that. First of all, timing, we know the big people, we know people in the area of that guy, and the guy says, that fucking guy was a nothing, he didn't do that. And we know that. Now, obviously, that's not admissible in court or anything like that. Just because this kid didn't take whatever plea or didn't rat. That's exactly what happened. It drives us crazy when we were doing law work to see young people lose their whole life over a little drug deal. That's why I tell people, you got to be crazy to do this. You got to be crazy to be a drug dealer today. The feds are going to get you. The snitches are going to get you. People are going to get you. Obviously you all know that I believe in legalized marijuana. I like the fact that I think most drugs should be decriminalized. I don't believe young people should do them. I think I think it should be decriminalized. They've done it in Sweden. They've done it in other places. So we're not even talking about that part of it. We're talking about the sentencing of young people who go to prison. Now, as a guy who gets very frustrated with the system and did so much law work, I was trying to figure out ways we could help young people. This is one way I could help young people right now. Letting them understand the law, who they know, the people, the lawyer they're gonna have, everything that goes along with that. And it makes me, listen, I got this YouTube channel for that. I like to do entertaining videos, but I also like to do this. I like to do educational videos. I think a person has to know what the laws are, one, in their area. First of all, you have state laws. Is it state? Is it fed? That's important, because if it goes to a certain level, it becomes a federal crime. And trust me, you don't want to get involved with the federal government in the prison system, because it's the worst system in the free world. It really is. They don't give a shit who you are, how much money you have. They don't give a fuck. And they have all the resources and all the people in the world to fuck you anytime they want. And they will. They don't play fair. Now, you take the United States. What are they doing? Listen, I love my country, but we have such a two-standard system. It drives me nuts. It really does. So the reason why I thought I'd do a video on not only just ghost dope and how the system works and how young people get caught up in the system, and our system is broke in this regard. Not only with drugs. Let's just take a young person who is a drug addict. He goes and robs a bank. Get it? Wrong. He doesn't use a gun, he uses a note. He's a drug addict. He robbed the bank for drug money. Gets whatever, $5,000, give or take, or whatever it is. He goes to prison for, let's just give a number, 5 years. Goes to a prison, and what happens? They don't give him any help for his drug addiction. And what does he do? He finds drugs in the prison, and he gets the drugs from whatever gang or whoever's running the drugs. Doesn't have the money to pay for it because he was a drug addict as it was. He was robbing a bank to get drug money. He doesn't have the money to pay for it, so what does he have to do? He might have to stab somebody in prison. He might have to have sex with somebody in prison. Now he is in prison in a bad way. All of a sudden, he gets a urinalysis test in prison. They give him. He gets caught. What does the prison system do? They take him and they put him in the hole for 60 days. Goes to the hole for 60 days. They also take his phone for 6 months. They take his visits for 6 months, and they'll take his commissary for 6 months. This is all, and his phone, commissary, and his visits for 6 months. So let's say this young guy, 21, who happens a drug addict, still they never touched this problem. They put him in a hole. He's finding drugs. You will find drugs anywhere, even in a hole in prison. And all of a sudden, this kid now had a contact on the street. Maybe he was a construction owner or whatever, and he made a phone call once every 2-3 weeks to the guy. The guy said, listen, straighten your act out, and you come out, and I'll give you a job. That's gone. So now this kid has no contact with anyone with a phone call or a visit. And a commissary. He's going to get around the commissary end. Now, all of a sudden, now the kid goes to the hole, he gets out of the hole, he can't call anyone, now he's nobody. Who's his family? Whatever drug place, whatever gang, whatever they in prison they have, that's his new family. Now what does the kid have to do? Still not touch this drug problem. What does the kid do? He goes out on the yard and he might have to stab somebody. He might have to, again, have sex to get more drugs or whatever it is. Now let's say the kid gets his 5 years, he gets done with his 5 years. Let's hope he doesn't have HIV or he doesn't have hepatitis for whatever happens in prison. And now what does he do? He gets out on the street and guess what? Still never helped this kid's problem. What is this kid gonna do? He's gonna be a drug addict. He figured out prison already. Now he's gonna figure out how to get drugs on the street and he's gonna be in this cycle. Next time he's gonna get more. So what did we do to this young kid? We ruined his life over a addiction that maybe somebody could have helped, or at least try to help. Even if you could help a small percentage of them, you're helping somebody. Does it happen in the United States? No. So whenever I look at what I was doing here, and I like to do videos on helping young people, I actually spoke at Northeastern College in Massachusetts yesterday. And it was a very good conversation because these people are trying to help with criminal justice reform, and that's what gave me the idea to do a video like this. Because I keep thinking, if I could do anything with this platform, it has to be to help young people not go to prison. People are gonna say, oh Larry, but if they make that bad choice, listen, you can't tell me a kid who grows up with very nice parents, nice house, education, the whole thing, is the same as a kid who grows up, his dad is in jail, his mom's a whore, he's fucking watching drug deals go down at his house. It's all he knows his whole life. And you can't tell me those two kids have the same avenues in life. They doesn't have the same opportunities in life. You don't. Period. You don't. So let's get that out of the way. Now, what do we do to help? Yes, there comes a time in every kid's life where you have to make your own choice. Eventually, they have to. Now, I'm not here to make excuses for people. I took my time. I did my time. I was bad. I deserve to go to prison. I get it. Everything about that is understandable. You know, young people today have a hard go of it because there's so much more out there to get in trouble with. And I don't mean just the internet. I don't mean, you know, the phone systems or whatever they have out there. It's the government that has to step back and say, wait a minute, what are we here to do? Are we here to incarcerate people and make more money? Again, private prisons. That's a money maker, no matter what you look at. That's a business, a private business that is making money off of people's misery. It's crazy, but that is exactly what's happened. So how do we, as a society, have to help the young people? Not only is education well. Do you know, when I went to school, we had, this is drugs, this is egg, this is eggs frying, this is your brain on drugs, all of that kind of stuff. Drug education. They don't have that anymore. It's guys like me who are gonna educate young people on this kind of stuff. And let me explain again. It's not that I'm saying that we have bad kids, or I'm saying it's difficult. And then you have the government behind the situation giving them ghost dope. Or you have the government trying to get them in prison, and they give them a urinalysis. It never helped their drug problem. And before you know it, the kid's back on the street, still with a drug problem, maybe a medical issue that he never got handled in prison. And then it's society's problem. That's another thing. But what do we have to do? You know, I keep saying, how do we have to help people? Tell you what, everybody on this channel, everybody who watches this video, you have a congressman. When you vote your congressman, and you guys should know what that congressman represents. And I know you're gonna say, oh, what do you mean? No, if you like marijuana to be legal, you should vote a guy in, and you should get to that guy with the social media and say to him, you need to sign, or you need to tell us right now, you're gonna put in legislation, you're gonna put in a bill, whether it goes anywhere or not, about legalizing marijuana throughout the United States. That congressman, if he does not put in a bill, forget what the leaders of the party say and we don't have the vote, bullshit. Put it in. Let's see who supports it. Let's see who doesn't. I don't care if nobody supports it. At least you did what you told your constituents you would do. So if he does not put in that bill in that 2 years, he should be voted out of office. We have people in there forever, and they'll say, oh, it's not the right time, and this bullshit. Do something when you're in there. Forget party shit and they tell you can't. No, you can't. You are representing the people who put you in there. The young people in this country, and I call young people, whatever, 30 and under, whatever, can run this country. They totally can run it with numbers and everything else, with social media, with all the stuff we have. They can totally run it. Sadly, they don't. And sadly, what we have to do as a society is keep going with these old people we keep putting in office, whether it's, forget the presidency. That's so, you know, it's important, but it's not as important as your local congressman, who actually is the one you can get to and talk to and say, listen, this is what you want to run for office? Great. You want to do something? Put in a bill before the two. You know, it'll take about 2 times, because the first one's not going to do it. I can tell you that now. And what you do is get rid of him. Literally vote him out. I don't care. You didn't do the vote him out. Next one gets it. If he doesn't do it, vote him out. You know what? The third one's going to say, I'm putting in a bill. And at least we're going to know where people stand in all of this stuff. And until we do that, I think we're going to have a lot of problems where we don't have representation of the people for the people. We only have representation for corporations and big people, and we have representations for older people because they vote. And that is part of the biggest problem we have right now in the United States, with young people going to prison. And that it triggered me of ways we can do to try to change the system. And I meant that even when I said with the marijuana, but forget the marijuana. How about the laws? How about the sentencing laws? How about all that stuff? You should know as a community, and as a young community, I'm very, very positive of young people. I believe in our young people. That's why I love doing this, and I love talking to people, and I do colleges, and I do stuff like that, because I'm trying to open their eyes of ways we can do it. Listen, I'm old now. I'm going to be gone before things are changed. It's sad as that is, it is. It's not being morbid. It's being the truth. Young people can change this system. They really can. If I knew what I knew now that I know today, that back then I would have helped change the system. Let me give you what I mean. When I get asked to say, what's the single most thing we can do? And I always say it's getting the right representatives who represents the people, and you are the people. If we do that, we could change the sentencing laws so they're not as strict, and we can maybe model some other countries that are doing better with rehabilitation, prison reform, all the stuff that I talk about. I try to give information on. You know what I tell young people, and you guys will like this, I'm not smarter than any of you. None. The only thing I have over you is experience in a place you don't want to go. And I hope you take that experience, listen to me, throw out the bullshit, and keep the good experience, and then be a better person. And don't go down my path to learn the experience. I did that already. I lost so much. I lost family, and I lost time, and I lost so much. Forget money and all that. You need to take my experience and then use whatever it is. Listen, I'm 60 years old. I go and speak to 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds who are business people when I want to know about business or something else. That doesn't mean I take everything they say. I listen to them, I filter out what I don't want, keep the good stuff, and throw the other shit out. And that's the way you learn without making the same mistakes people make. Nobody should be making the mistakes I made in life if they just pay attention and use experience. Listen, your parents are not smarter than you. They have more experience than you, and they love you. And trust me when I say this, your parents only want you to be better than them. They're the only two people in this world that don't want anything from you. Remember that. They want you to be better. So think about that the next time you're fighting with them or whatever you do in life. And I don't care how old you are. You can be 20, 25, 30. I don't care how old it is. I take care of an 89-year-old mother, and I have to catch myself from arguing with her because that has that little experience, maybe that one little thing. And I have to make sure I take that in and understand it, if that makes any sense to you. So I wanted to put this video together, and I called it Ghost Up because that was the beginning of the video, but it's really about how we can help people, how we can make people vote, how we can take experience. Young people are this fucking world. And we need to show the people in Washington and the people all over that the young people run this country. And we need to do that. And we need to do it quickly. We need to do it before they fuck this whole damn thing up, which they kind of almost did already. But I think I went on my soapbox long enough. I think you get where I'm coming from. You know, listen to me, guys. I really do love you guys. Thank you for the support on this channel, everything I do. Make good choices. Don't be stupid. Pass this on if you can. Maybe it'll help somebody. And please, stay well. Have a good time. Take care. See you next time.